very good evening, everyone. I extend a warm welcome to our array of esteemed speakers, President of TIE Ahmedabad, Saurabh Mehta, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Gujarat, President Sailesh Goyal, all of you who have joined us today for this webinar on a very interesting topic, which is also the need of the hour. Ways to go to the market in the new normal, branding and marketing strategies perspective for the food and wellness industry. Shailesh ji, he is one of our TIE's long-standing charter member and also the president of IACC Gujarat. He is also the moderator for the webinar today. So welcome and over to you, Shailesh ji.
Thank you, Vyali. Thank you so much. Friends from TIE Ahmedabad and colleagues from IACC, esteemed guests, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this webinar, Way to Go to the Market in the New Normal Post-Pandemic Situation. I also thank you, the Food Entrepreneurs Association, the Gujarat University, GUSAC, Ganpat University, and PDPU IIC for supporting this seminar. I extend a special welcome to our esteemed panelists today, Professor Alain D'Souza, who is ex-executive director of DDB Mudra and also the founder of MICA, Mycore, founding dean of SBS and SCS. Mr. Sanjay Adisha is head of digital media and digital at Adani Wilmar Limited. And Mr. Prateek Agrawal, who is head of e-commerce at the Zydus Wellness. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you all. And I thank you, all of you, each one of you, for taking out time today for this seminar. So friends, some of you might be aware that I took over as chairman of IICC Gujarat branch very recently, let's say beginning of October. And this is the first program I'm attending in the capacity of IICC president actually. I would like to invite our branch secretary, Mr. Ashok Subbarao, to introduce and briefly about the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and its activity. Ashok?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Shailesh ji. Good evening and welcome to everyone. Shailesh ji, thank you very much for the opportunity. And once again, heartiest congratulations on being the chairman, of being appointed as the chairman of the ICC Gujarat branch for the year 2021. My name is Ashok Subbarao, friends, and I'm the branch head for the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Gujarat branch. IICC is the only bilateral chamber of commerce committed to promotion of industry, economic, business, and commercial activities between United States and India. IICC acts as a catalyst in promoting economic growth between USA and India. It was formed around 52 years ago, and we have 14 branches in India with a membership of approximately 2,000 plus. I would like to take this opportunity to thank PLE for having tied up with IICC for this webinar, and welcome to all the startups to utilize the platform of IICC by becoming a member. Over to you back, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashok. We have Mr. Saurabh Mehta, President of TIE. I would request Mr. Saurabh Bhai to kindly have his welcome address.
Thank you, Shailesh Bhai, and thank you all the panelists. I think this is really a need of the hour to have something like this, especially the food and wellness industry. In fact, all industry marketing, digital marketing is the way to go now, because I don't see anything happening in the next few months or next 6 months or 12 months. Anyway, to introduce TIE was founded in Silicon Valley. Its full form is the Indus Valley Entrepreneurs. It was formed by a group of Indian people and very, very successful entrepreneurs from Novell, Sun Microsystems, etc. They thought that we have been very successful in the Valley, so we will help other people from the Indus Valley, that means India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, etc., to also succeed by terms. So basically, TIE's charter is to foster entrepreneurship and support entrepreneurship. And basically, the way we work is through mentoring, funding, education, incubation, etc. It's like a way of giving back to the community. By assisting entrepreneurs, basically, what we all think is, after being successful, doing very well, if we assist other entrepreneurs, we will generate and empower individuals and create wealth, and at the end of it, create more jobs. And this is what basic mission and vision of TIE is, to foster entrepreneurship, and create wealth for other entrepreneurs. Other than that, TIE also has works with not only this, but it's like giving back to society. We work do social entrepreneurship in Ahmedabad. We do a lot of social entrepreneurship. We support a lot of social entrepreneurship, and we also support young. We mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, just without having any stake in the company. Just mentor them, give them advice, etc. So, and TIE and ISCC have a lot of many members who are common. I personally was a member of ISCC years back when I used to extensively work with the US. And I have also attended some great sessions of breakfast and etc. at ISCC, different ISCC forums. So thank you, Shailesh Bhai, for giving TIE the opportunity. And this is a great platform. And over to you, Piali.
So thank you, Saurabh Bhai, and I'm actually delighted that we could join hands for this important and the very crucial subject, actually. And we need you back in ISCC, so do remember that. Once you are free from TIE, I will approach you and come back to you, sir. Okay.
Well,
so friends, coming back to today's webinar, the coronavirus pandemic has come as a huge disruption world over. We all are aware. And it has changed the way we have been living, we have been working, we shop, or we eat. So most businesses have taken a huge hit with sectors, especially with sectors such as tourism, hospitality, civil aviation and all. They are being the worst affected. The coronavirus pandemic has also dealt a huge blow on the startups, especially those in the food and wellness sector. We identified that and we thought it is time for us to take the mentorship ahead. So in the absence of business, funding has died, putting at stake a large number of jobs as well as the promoters who were enthusiastically, behind the startups into both the sectors actually. But even though the opinion is sharply divided, many experts believe that the worst is behind us. And we can look forward to a sharp recovery going ahead. And some of the indicators, national indicators are, indicating that as a proof of that we are recovering very fast actually. So, and to add that the upcoming festival season is especially expected to bring businesses back on track. We will know soon that. So it is also the time to rework and for the startups, for the entrepreneurs, for all the owners, business owners to come back with their enthusiasm, come back with their business plans, their blueprints, and see that it can be put into the action now. So friends, I will stop here, invite our esteemed panelists to share their thoughts on the issue. And I'm confident all of us will benefit tremendously with each one of the speaker sharing their invaluable insights. So I would like to begin our today's webinar with Mr. Alan D'Souza. Alan sir, as he popularly known as, is a legendary name in the advertising world, especially in this part of the country. He is known as an institution builder and as he's the founding team member of who set up Mudra Advertising, Mica, MagIndia.com, and SBS and SCS Communication School and all this. So he's also founding dean of the Shanti Business School and the Shanti School of Communication, as I said. So let's gain from his experience of over 4 decades. Over to you, Alan sir.
Thank you, Shailesh Bhai. I would like to thank TIE Ahmedabad and the team that's involved in organizing this webinar. And I think, as you mentioned, Shailesh Bhai, this is an important topic that needs to be addressed. And I'm glad that you focused on a particular industry. Now, what I have chosen to do is I have narrowed down the subject to something that I am more familiar with. And I thought that I might bring my 4.5 decades of experience into bearing in today's context and see what exactly it means to us. And therefore, the specific topic that I have selected is the role of 360-degree marketing communications for startups in the food and wellness industry in what we now call the new normal. And I have divided my talk into four subheads. The first is I would like to talk about the context and the environmental changes. So while the focus is obviously on the new normal, the pandemic, and the very different conditions that we are all going through today, I think certain basic issues need to be discussed. And I thought this, since I am also the first speaker, maybe I could set the platform in terms of some of the macro issues that need to be looked at. The other speakers who are going to join in are more knowledgeable in marketing communications as far as the digital sphere is concerned. But I do believe that digital is one component of the 360-degree mix. So the four areas that I'm going to talk about is, first of all, the context, the environmental changes that we see around us. And this has got not only to do with the pandemic, but other changes that we see globally and nationally, which I believe in any case, whether there is a pandemic or there is no pandemic, it impacts industry, and particularly small industries and startups as they go into the marketplace. The second area that I would like to touch on is the whole marketing context, where we are going to talk about the changes and the trends that are happening in this particular domain. And the third area is the role of brand and marketing communications, and how do we deal with marketing communications in this new context, and what is the role that branding might play as far as startups is concerned. And finally, I'd like to round up with some strategic directions in terms of certain basic principles that I personally believe could be helpful for startups in getting into the market, or playing a dominant role in a market that is increasingly becoming more complex and more competitive. Now, having said that, let's go to the first topic of the context. And I think that there are certain changes that while it might on the side of it seem irrelevant, I believe they are very, very relevant for any startup, not only the food and wellness industry, but any startup that, or any business that wants to get into the market. Today, as far as global context is seen, we see increasing protectionism. You take, for example, the entire issue of trade war between the US and China, and the pandemic also in that context, because China has got some kind of a central role that it plays, which is affecting businesses, consumers, governments, etc. across the world. So therefore, that is one area that needs to be looked at. And I think while this is a macro perspective, I believe that it filters down to the micro level also, and does impact industry, both large and small industries. The second point that I'd like to talk about is the whole issue about Atmanirbhar Bharat that we keep talking about, where the context is make Indian, buy Indian kind of stuff. And therefore that has got some role to play in the entire mix. Then we've got this whole issue about climate change. And while we might not tend to give it too much importance, yet I believe climate change is affecting not only businesses, but affecting the general health of populations. And therefore, in that context also affects the food and wellness industry. Then we have obviously the technological changes. And this is happening worldwide. And of course, in India, the push for Digital India is having its own impact in terms of businesses and the way consumers are buying and so on. So offline versus online is becoming a huge issue. There is also the whole issue of the changing consumers. And today we are seeing new definitions that are developing from the old definitions of demographics, psychographics, socioeconomical classifications, NCCS, and so on and so forth. We see a changing definition, and this definition of consumers is being driven by the kind of products that are coming into the market and the way consumers are buying today. Then we have the increasing competition, and of course, the current pandemic has its own role to play in terms of the overall context. Now, coming to the market scenario, you will see that there is basically several changes that are happening in the marketplace today, particularly with relevance to the food and wellness industry. And some of the general trends that I see is, one is, of course, the whole issue about going back to nature. And this is something that I think the food and wellness industry could well address in terms of its product strategies, in terms of its market strategies. This whole issue about vegetarianism versus non-vegetarianism and the whole dietary platforms that we are talking about today. And if you talk to dietitians today, they will give you more of an insight into what is happening in terms of consumer behavior, consumer buying habits, as far as food and wellness is concerned. Then this whole issue about fast foods is another issue that needs to be taken cognizance of. And finally, this whole issue about eating out versus eating in. And today we see a lot of consumers, preferring to eat in rather than eat out. And therefore, this has obviously had impact on businesses in terms of delivery systems, in terms of the kind of food that people want to eat, in terms of the hygiene factor, and so on and so forth. And I believe that this, for the next couple of years at least, this is going to have an impact. Then I also see, issues in the pharma sector, though this is not really related to the wellness sector in that sense directly, but pharma sector also is seeing huge changes. And since we have a panelist on Kedler, they'll be able to better touch on this particular subject. And the pharma industry, and I'm consulting with some of the pharma companies today, sees a huge change that is happening in terms of the way doctors are addressing patients, the whole issue of telemedicine, the whole issue of how pharmaceutical companies are delivering products, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the issues that I thought we must look at. Now, coming to the third issue of branding and marketing communications. Now, I can talk ad nauseam, but I see that I've got exactly around 2 minutes left for my concluding remarks. So I will make this brief, but suffice it to say that I believe with the 4.5 decades of experience that I have, that marketing communications is becoming increasingly important. And the whole challenge today is to decide how much of offline and how much of online we should have. The whole challenge is what are the kind of tools that we need to choose, because as we know, but this is true particularly of startups, you will see that the biggest challenge is funding as far as startups is concerned. And therefore, one of the things that we in the advertising and communications business are always asked, how much is enough? And what do we get out of our advertising buck? Now, these are difficult questions, but fortunately, thanks to the rise of digital marketing, we are able to now quantify, and spends are now becoming very manageable, as opposed to, spends over television, print, and the traditional media. Digital spends can be monitored, can be tight focused, and can be, made more effective. So, and finally, in terms of the strategic directions that I believe, and some of the basic principles and takeouts, first of all, I think for startups, it is important to have a proper mindset. I think it's this whole issue about business, and business in today's context is a whole issue of mindset. And I do believe that you have to be brave in this new world. While people see challenges, you can also see opportunities. And therefore, the first thing that you need to define for yourself very clearly in terms of focus is define the kind of business you are in. Whom are you serving? Who are your customers? Define your product very clearly. Be very sure that you are connecting the dots in terms of traditionally what we call the 4 Ps, the product, price, promotion, and placement strategies. And finally, how do you evaluate the results? I mean, what are the metrics that you use? And we know that there are metrics that are available across media to find out what is the effectiveness of your advertising buck. So I think these are the basic principles. And I would summarize by saying that it's a whole new world that we are entering into today. And there are good challenges, there are good opportunities. And the digital media, not too many people understand it. Many people are still grappling with it. But the better you adapt at understanding the digital media and how it can serve your interests in terms of social media or digital media and advertising, how do you connect with consumers? And today, believe me, consumers are sending signals across the net. And if you are able to pick up these signals and track the consumers and offer them your product, your brand, your offering in a very desirable way, there are good chances, and I've seen case studies of this where you advertise on, say, Amazon or whatever, And it is said, the recent statistics seem to show that 75% of the consumers who go on to Amazon also buy on Amazon. And therefore, this new world and new way of buying of online versus offline needs to be understood very clearly. And once that is done, I think there are good results to be achieved. So I would end this, I've taken a minute more, but I hope it's all right. I do wish all the participants all the best in their journey in this rather difficult but opportunistic world. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Alan sir. You have rightly said how much is enough has been all for more than 3 decades, probably my 3 decades journey also. This question has always been asked by advertising agencies and all, and the clients also. But thankfully, as you rightly said, the spends are now manageable, especially with the onset of digital deluge, what we call it. And yes, the mindset of entrepreneur is very, very important. And higher the risk, higher the rewards. The more brave you are, the better gains are, actually speaking. So thank you, sir. So when you are part of an industry, you always get to meet so many vendors, suppliers, customers, and everybody who are your backbone, and also each one has a success story. But each one has a common pain also, which be it lack of resources to expand the penetration or to get into the newer markets, or evergreen paucity of the funds to spend on advertising and mass media for building the brand. And this is more true in the case of startups, actually. So let's hear from Mr. Sanjay Adeshra, who is leading the media and brand strategy of Fortune Oils and Foods for over a decade now. He has proven track record in the world of media, digital, and communications. He's spent with Adani more than 11 years by now, handling marketing, strategy, media, and business. So currently, he's heading 3 products: rice, atta, and rice bran. And Sanjay's few milestones include the remarkable media campaign Ghar Ka Khana of Fortune, which features Dadi and Akshay Kumar. He's also the man behind the most lovable packaging revamp in recent times in the food FMG sector. Besides that, he's driving the organization with the digital revolution, which is now come into focus, but he has started long back, actually. So Sanjay has been the Times Marketing Man of the Year of 2019, and also the agency Reporters 40 Under 40 Successful CEO. And incidentally, Sanjay is also one of the youngest CEO in the sports industry, leading two-time finalist Gujarat's only sporting team in various leagues, Gujarat Fortune Giants, the Kabaddi team in the Pro Kabaddi League, actually. So over to you, Sanjay. We are looking forward to your valuable insights.
Thank you, Shailesh Bhai. Thank you very much. And thank you, TiE Ahmedabad, for giving me this opportunity to, interact with such a wonderful audience. Though most of the points Professor Alan has already covered and nothing has left for me and Pratik to cover it up. Whatever the total number of experience what we has, I think mine and Pratik put together will not nearer to that, but we'll make it our small effort to, contribute our little bit knowledge to the audience. Piali, thank you for the putting up the presentation. So for the startup and the audience, you told me, Piali, I have kept it more from the what is currently happening. In the April and May, we heard a lot of stories that what is happening due to lockdown and everything. After that, now it's been more than 6 months in the current pandemic situation. So there are a few patterns which we have seen a change. Earlier it started in the immediate lockdown. So I've covered more of the story, the changes from beginning of the lockdown till date. And I think for the audience, it is, give them a fair picture that how the industry is taking a shape in the current situation. So probably it might be helpful for them to understand that how the consumer behavior and everything is shifting. Yeah, Piali, we can move on. So interesting moments in the market and I'm of the firm believer that in last 180 days, what kind of shift we have seen in the consumer industry. Generally, it takes couple of decades to happen. at a ground level, and the food behaviors change gradually. But last few months, like I said, last 180 days is actually a progression of 2 decades. If you ask any marketeer, that the change of any particular product need or identification, it's a whole journey, and we have seen such radical changes in last 6 months. So the last 6 months have been a very difficult, challenging time for us, but it has been only also an interesting consumer life cycle also. Yeah. So a couple of points we are covering. How do the people, really continue. Reorient themselves during the early months of crisis. This is more or less we know, So yes, next, the most of us had a cautious lifestyle, homebound lifestyle, health concerns. These are the 3 main pillars where we earlier had our lockdown times. Optimistic about long term, but unsure about the near term, short term. Online everything, and merging of physical spaces, disruption of routine shopping behaviors. The kind of growth which e-com portal and OTT has witnessed in the last 6 months is huge, and otherwise they were also not ready for such kind of a disruption in their order flow, increasing so many things. So these are the early behavior pattern of the lockdowns. Yes, Piali. The essentials were stocked up. The earlier days of a lockdown, it was a category buying what happened, and not the brand buying. Being into a grocery item in the daily essentials, Fortune, we could manage the supply chain all India. But even in few parts of the country, few cities, we were out of stock, and people, our loyal customer, did not bothered much, and whatever was available on the shelf, it shelved away immediately. And it was more of a category buying rather than a brand buying during the initial days of lockdown. Yes, Piali, next. The second, you are seeing from last lot of radio jingles, print ads, TV ads, that the immunity is becoming the new buzzword. Even the Google search trend says that the search for immunity familiar products has increased multiple folds in last 2 quarters. So that is the known, and we all agree that immunity word. Even there are few campaigns which has not received well, promoting around the immunity. So immunity is the second biggest buzzword which we have understood after the quarantine, and which was the first keyword in the lockdown. Yes, Piali, next. So more snacking moments, lesser time to prepare meals, ready to cook, ready to eat, those kind of just doing some alterations in the food and your meal is ready. Those kind of trends changing has happened in the food industry. We have launched under the Fortune, we have launched a couple of ready to cook products during this pandemic situation, and we are seeing great traction in the, especially the tier 1 and metro towns. Yeah, Piali. So it's a comfort and simple meals. We have launched a ready to cook khichdi kind of a thing. It's a desi simple indigenous meal, and you just have to give it under a pressure cooker, and it will be ready in 5-7 minutes. So those kind of a simple meal with a little bit of effort is gathering a lot of traction from the consumers. The e-commerce, the importance and the rise of e-commerce is known to all of us. I think the Netflix, OTTs, all other OTT platforms, the kind of growth which they have witnessed in last 6 months, they were not imagining, or they were not ready for it also. Few of the e-commerce we spoke, and I'm sure Pratik will also cover in the next session, that most of the e-com portals were not ready with the kind of increase in flow of orders what they have got it in last 6 months. Yes, next. So now what was relevant in last 6 months and what was not relevant? So emphasizing price. So like we say, I mean, Fortune is middle of the consumer requirement. We always feel that value for money will be a main requirement. That has been again proven in such situation. The smaller pack, the smaller pack size was more appeal to the tier 2, tier 3 towns, where it was, you know, a more or less a weekly or a alternate weekly buying pattern was there. The popular brands, the fighter brands was the another big phenomena. The bonus packs, I mean the 5+1, आप बोलिए या 20%, 10%, the reinforcing of trust, better than expensive, all this, you know, are the thought process on which the marketeers, the brand managers, the category managers has worked in last 6 months. And what was not relevance? The indulgence, the premiumization without health benefit, only the extra fills or pure variety is something which consumers has not, you know, appreciated or accepted in such times. Moving next. So how are people now responding after a few months into the crisis? You know, all this, what we have seen, the impacts, major 5 points, those are known to all of us. And but now we are used to the, let's say, the new normal kind of a thing. So now what are the new crises and how are we responding to that? Moving next. So some shift in 4 trends chart, you know, the interest in immunity slowly is going out of the trend. The recipe which was earlier, you know, the lockdown during a lot of new chef, you know, came on the Instagram and Facebook. Now that is also interest in recipes is going out. The food delivery service is also slowly and gradually picking up in the metros. E-commerce seems to be a widen up its pool. So e-commerce is going to be there for a sure, but some kind of a dip and up and downs, you know, the trend is also witnessing over there. So moving next. You know, we all know, I mean, currently also I'm in current situation, I'm traveling and I'm staying in a hotel and I don't feel any difference pre-lockdown kind of a thing, you know. So now most of us, at least people like in a metro towns, tier 1, tier 2 kind of a people, they are back to normal. The behaviors are again coming back to the normals kind of a thing. Next. But still cautiousness will be there. The demand is going to be there. Desires are going to be there. You know, the kind of uncertain future what we are currently living in. Last couple of weeks also we are listening that western part of the world is again getting into the stricter norms. The, you know, they are again planning for a lockdowns kind of a thing. So that is still considering back of mind, our mind, it is still there कि वापस कभी भी आ सकता है कि किराने शॉप पे वापस 2 घंटे की लाइन में खड़ा रहना पड़े. So people still, you know, living under that fear and still, you know, stocking up situations may arise in the future as well. Yeah, moving next. Now, what are the implications? Though most of the, you know, brands, company, organizations, the offerings, immunity may not remain a buzzword, and you know, maybe a better health and hygiene. These are the promise which will appeal more to the audience, the organic, the natural, you know, the authenticity in the food. These are the long-term trends which I personally see and believe that more than immunity, these are the genres which should work better in times to come. Moving next, Vyali. The convenience and the trust. I mean, the brand is what it is, basically a trust of a consumer and the trust of quality and a taste. So convenience and the trust, these are the two big things on which a brand will be built in the near future. So anything which is convenience and the known brand, the brand which carries a trust in the minds of consumer will be part of the trend for next few years is what I feel. Moving next. Increasing awareness of the mental health. I think recently the couple of cases of mental health and because of few major cases happened. Slowly and gradually the mental health awareness issue is, you know, getting tractions across the country, and especially in a country like India, well, it is still considered as a taboo to discuss about. People staying at home, they get irritated, they get short-tempered. Those kind of awareness are slowly and gradually increasing, and people are open to, you know, discuss it. They are now open to discuss about mental health, how to manage that. So this is going to be the new shift in the minds of consumer or overall, I mean. In the country like India, having the acceptability of the discussion and the openness about mental health is a big radical shift. Moving next. Self-imposed constraint on out-of-home indulgence is making more room for inside-home indulgence. So, though the fortune believe that घर का खाना होता है, but out-of-home consumption is still a part of our daily routine lifestyle. But slowly and gradually now, people, I personally feel that after again a 3 or 4 month, if we do not get a vaccine, the the indulgence inside the home parties, the get-togethers of a family of near and dear will increase, and some offering in to fill that particular need area will be a good idea to for a food startup or any product. Moving next. The desire for social interaction is high, and hosting people at home is seeing a revival. So like I said, now there are few cities I know, and we have spoken to a couple of people that city like Bangalore, one hotelier started chef at home services. So if you have a gathering of 5-10 people, you just have to book a chef, and a sous chef will come and they will prepare a meal for 5-10-15 people, and what you can be safe and enjoy it with your friend at your home also. So those kind of new services are part of the upcoming culture and trends. Moving next. All said and done, I am still optimistic, and I still believe that it is a matter of 4 to 6 quarter, maybe an 8 quarter, but things will come back to the normal. I mean, e-com will have a increased pie chart from the existing base or the pre-corona, pre-COVID kind times, but the retail, the mom and pop stores of the country is not going to die very soon. And the normalcy in the buying behavior in our, because more or less Indian is we are a social, we believe in social life, more than anything else. So that will come, and that has to come according to me. It is just a matter of time. Even in current festival period, I am witnessing in few metros I have traveled last week, that more or less now at least 70-80% of people are back to their normal lifestyle. People are now going to malls to at least do the basic shoppings and everything. So normalcy will come back, but yeah, this lockdown and the corona have taught us a lot of things which will remain with us for a longer amount of time. Yeah. Next. So there are the few drastic changes in the market, but principle of the marketing will still hold true. Projecting optimism, infusing hope. These are the the success stories or the success recipe for any brand or any offering which you do. And that is all from my side, Sailesh bhai. Over to you.
Sanjay bhai, that was a great insight inside actually, because in the less than 9 months, we have seen the dramatic changes happening around us. So optimism, homebound lifestyle, the health concerns, the immunity boost promise, comfort of simple meal, all that has remained relevant. But in the last 3 months, the fatigue and the tiredness has given rise to newer sectors and newer. So while the pricing and the size of pack, the trust and quality will remain the deciding factors, we will see the change which is now generated by the consumer behavior, which is like a fusion or a mix of what lockdown has taught us and what we used to enjoy before pre-COVID actually. So there is the only hitch is still there's uncertainty which is looming large. We have seen more than 5 states now getting back into the lockdown stage, talking about it and all. But the consumer has matured, everyone has matured now, and they know what it is and how far it can go. And as you rightly said, the consumer need to be delighted with saying you deserve it and you are successful. And I would like to add into that you survived. Okay, so all these 3 things are taking it to further actions. But the lessons are very important, and better health and hygiene promise, the mental health issues, which is giving to the rise of a very desired thing with what is called as optimism and the gratitude, the gratefulness actually. And this is the thing which will take people, will keep people grounded and near to the nature of the world. Yes, indulgence at home will increase, and as you rightly give an example, home chef at home will give that kind of feeling of party what they used to have probably elsewhere. So social interaction at home will go up, and everything will get charged and supercharged with the consumer stepping out as and when needed, or only when needed actually. So the solution to that is the online shopping, and that's where the e-commerce comes into the picture actually. So one of the other sector which has been most fascinating for the entrepreneurs and the startup, and yet seems to have got equally affected, is the wellness industry, which is also the part of food industry, because the health food, fancy of the health food has caught up in the very big way in the recent times actually. So this has also led to the need of innovation in product pricing, the promotion they do, and everything, literally everything. So this has given tremendous rise to the online selling also. That also is considered safer than going to a mall or going to a Karyana store or the grocery store actually. But this is also backed up with the delivery businesses. So let's hear from how this industry is coping up with the pressure of e-commerce. And those who are traditional sellers, traditional buyers, or traditional restaurateurs, they all are now forced to get into the e-commerce, and backed by the Zomatos and the Swiggy's delivery systems, and more are coming into the picture. So our next speaker is Mr. Prateek, who has been associated with the Zydus Wellness for last 3 years, and he is heading the e-commerce channel for them. Prateek is having around 8 years experience of e-commerce, having worked with Flipkart and also Philips India in the past. He has built the e-com business from scratch, both for Zydus Wellness and Philips India also. And he has a strong understanding of the go-to-market requirements to be successful in the region. Over to you, Prateek. We are eager to hear your insights.
Thanks, Shailesh Bhai, for the kind words and great introduction. I would like to thank TiE Ahmedabad and the IIC chapter, Gujarat chapter, for actually organizing this event. I think very relevant need of the hour for a lot of entrepreneurs and startups who are looking at going to the market, driving business in the as they say, the new normal or the new situation. So I think extremely timed, extremely great discussion point to have. As I think Sanjay mentioned, Alan sir has already kind of set the context in terms of the broader issues facing the industry, and what a marketeer or a brand or a startup should go about. And then I really like the way Sanjay highlighted the issues of the new normal and the implications for the brand. I think if somebody would have noticed the very sharp trends that kind of came out for people who can really use them to both create products and target customers and build business. What I thought that I would be able to do justice is how the businesses or startups can look at e-commerce as an option in these times. So I just put up a few slides. I'll just share my screen. Let me know once it's visible.
I think it's no more an option actually. It is a compulsion.
Yeah, I mean, I think you rightly put. It was an option, but now it has become a necessity. As you mentioned, Shailesh Bhai, e-commerce is a necessary GTM strategy in new normal for a lot of brands. However, the trends for the e-commerce were already in place, much before the COVID times. So, if you see globally, e-commerce as a channel has been growing rapidly since last 15-20 years. However, the scale in India was already pretty low. It's still underpenetrated at 3.4%, and this data is for 2019 that I'm presenting. With it also being packed to become a $100 billion dollar industry by 2025. So, so the trends were already there for this sector. Also, it was supported by there are some key critical factors like like the internet, penetration being developed, and going fast, reduction in the data rates. So with Jio and Airtel pricing war, the data rates have really reduced. Then there is obviously the Gen Z and the millennials. I mean, India has a huge population in those bracket which are starting to get onto e-commerce, onto the mobile transactions. It's a quite early age, and also the development of the payment gateways. So I think all these factors for this channel to kind of become successful. But having said that, it's still was at a nascent stage. Now, what happened was COVID became like a watershed moment. Suddenly, the adoption rate of this channel started seeing huge spikes. So again, this is a very latest data that I'm projecting, wherein some of the categories like grocery and FMCG saw 100% rise in the last 6 months of COVID. There were obviously growth in other categories as well, but wellness and grocery and staples saw unprecedented spike to the extent that even some of the e-com players had not envisaged, and they had to really change their model to service the customers in these times of COVID. Also, one of the key data points I think is that a lot of this demand came from tier 3 cities. So while the digital adoption in tier 1, tier 2 is still fairly good, and e-commerce was already had a decent penetration. A lot of this demand came from tier 3 cities. In fact, to the tune that all the new customers coming out of that 75%, as per an Amazon report and a GroupM report, came from tier 3 cities. Now, this is very encouraging for brands and startups, because what generally happens is that it kind of gives you a phenomenal reach to go to market and have your products placed in. So, for example, if a startup based out of Ahmedabad wants to take his product, say, to a town in UP, he will have to have some distributor network set up, or even for a modern trade, he has to kind of get it going. But what e-commerce gives you is that phenomenal reach, and when you know that the reach is even to the tier 2 town, tier 3 towns, that's extremely great. Just adding on to the point that I think Sanjay has already covered this part in terms of the shift in consumer behavior. So you see, I mean, some data points, around 50% increase in online searches for product-related searches. Around again 40% increase in average daily product consideration. Now, what do you mean by consideration? When people are wanting to buy, say, a rice or staples or any other food, they are looking at it, they are adding it to their cart, their basket. So all the metrics have seen phenomenal spikes. Now, what does this mean for the brands and startups? And I think you have already mentioned this. Going online was up till now was an opportunity, but it's no longer an opportunity; it's a necessity. And not only for startups. In fact, that kind of replicates for larger brands and organizations like us as well, wherein e-commerce has become extremely critical and pivotal, not only to drive business, but also a medium to target consumers, drive awareness for our brands. So a lot of organizations are not only looking at e-commerce just to drive sales and build a business, but also to kind of reach out to the audience who are there on the e-commerce platforms. And a case in point, an example being, you could see a lot of credit card companies like Citibank, SBI running their ads on these platforms. So a startup can really utilize this opportunity, wherein he's also selling his product, but also at the same point of time, building a brand and awareness, which if he has to do in an offline world, takes huge resources. Just kindly highlighting broadly on the key success factors for building an online business. Now, I believe a lot of the participants are here entrepreneurs and startups, and they will obviously everybody have this question in their mind that marketing karni hai to we'll have to spend money, we'll have to kind of and nowadays to an extent even digital is not cheap. We have to bid aggressively, while it can give you a lot of metrics, but at the same point of time it's costly. How do I build my business, an online business? I've tried highlighting 3-4 critical factors which if done correctly can help you build your brand or business online, also at a very optimal cost. So getting the GTM right, GTM again is the go-to market of how do you approach e-commerce business. The other being optical assortment, what kind of packs you have. Is it a combo? Is it large value packs, smaller packs? The third aspect is the whole aspect of driving conversion. Now, if you are able to get people onto your product, onto e-commerce platform, how do you make them buy your product? What are the tools that you could use to kind of drive conversion? And lastly, what's the role of activations and marketing in the e-commerce space that the brands and the startups can use? So I think this is the biggest piece, and you will see a lot of e-commerce platforms that I've kind of highlighted. And it's a confusing world out there now. Anybody who says that I want to go online yes, but online how, and online where, and online when? So I mean, you will have grocery platforms like Amazon Pantry, Grofers, Big Basket. You have marketplaces, Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm. You have specialized beauty portals like Purple, Nykaa. You have pharma portals nowadays, wherein a lot of these OTC products and even healthcare products are being sold. Ayurvedic products are being sold. You have this dairy hyper local play, wherein likes of Super Daily, Milk Basket, Big BB Daily, that kind of deliver products at at early morning at your doorstep. In fact, even during lockdown times, we still have BB Daily coming to our doorstep and delivering products. And then lastly, this whole evolution of B2B e-commerce, wherein how can you use players like Udaan and now with JioMart coming in to really go massive and also not only go into the consumer but also getting your products placed to the retailer. So there's this lot of options that are available to brands, to startups. Getting this piece right becomes extremely critical. You should so again, I think Alanson mentioned this point very clearly, that we should know our product very well. We should know about our business. What do you want to achieve? Once you are very clear about your product and your consumers who you want to target, you can very clearly decide on the platforms that become critical for you to start your play in the e-commerce. So answering these two questions extremely becomes important, that where to play and how to play. And lastly, I'll just kind of briefly touch. So this, I mean, there are options wherein there are marketplaces who are already present for your products, but there are also an option of going direct to consumer. Now, this has really taken up huge importance since the COVID, and especially for bigger brands. Startups are still going to consumers directly, but a lot of the bigger brands are now evaluating whether and when I say bigger brands, a lot of brands in the food and wellness space, and a typical FMCG organization is evaluating that how do we have a strategy and we can go direct to consumer. I mean, there are some players who are also evaluating it, using WhatsApp to kind of link up their retailers, local store kirana wala to deliver products. So getting this piece right is extremely critical for a startup. I think they should spend around 50-60% of your time to kind of get this piece right. Once this is right, I think the next part comes in terms of the online assortment. Now what generally sells in offline does not sell in online, and I think we should be very cognizant of that fact. For an example, sugar, which is a 1 kg product selling at a 45-50 rupees, will not sell on a marketplace like Amazon or Flipkart, where the shipping cost sometimes can go up to 30-40 rupees for half a kg. So getting this assortment ready becomes very critical. So I mean, ideally startups or businesses who have products which have a low volumetric weight and a higher price point generally do very well. So I think that's a basic check that every businesses should have, and this primarily holds true for marketplace end of the business, which again is around 70% of the current e-commerce business. You can still have a product like a sugar being sold on Big Basket and Grofers, where the strategy is very different, where people will buy locally and they will sell locally. But I would encourage startups to kind of look at launching products that can kind of cater to the wider e-commerce audience and not restrict themselves to a regional play. So some of the thoughts that should be taken is about larger packs. I mean, how can we create larger packs? Sampling is a very interesting medium that they can use. I mean, we did this with one of our products, Sugarlite, when we launched it in the market. We did a sampling of close to 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh, consumers online, sold at 1 rupee, a 30 rupees pack. And that kind of really got trials going. Now, if I have to get the trials in a traditional medium, it takes, or drive awareness for our product in traditional medium, it takes a huge effort. So how do I create a sampling pack for my consumers online? And then lastly, the other aspect is the combos. When you have products which are low ASP, like a face wash, which is 100 rupees, can you look at creating combos and selling? So some of the very, very small decision making that can really drive much higher effectiveness. And honestly, it does not take too much money to change the product portfolio, and something that can be very easily done. Third aspect that they should be cognizant of is how do they drive conversion. Now, conversion is primarily decided by two things. One is the content and the information that you are putting up for your products, and the other being the pricing. So when I say content, there are some basic hygiene things that they have to look after, in terms of having images, in terms of having crisp bullet points, having content which is SEO optimized, having certain keywords which consumers are looking for searching. Like for example, immunity is the new buzzword that is there. If they have a product that they can call out the immunity aspect, they should have it included in their title itself and have multiple references of that keyword into their content. So I think that again, these are small changes or approach that they can take to drive awareness, increase their viewership of their products. And the other aspect is the pricing. Again, I mean, the good thing about e-commerce is that you have clear idea about the competition pricing at a click of a button. Don't need to go to the market and keep on checking. I mean, you can do it 24/7. You can be aware of what your competition is selling at, and depending upon your brand strength or the or the differentiation that you have in your product vis-a-vis to the competition, you can clearly have a very sharp pricing strategy. I think all this really helps drive conversion. So the third thing is that they should focus on conversion. And lastly, on the activations and marketing. Now this is something slightly different than your pure digital marketing. It's about doing performance marketing on the e-commerce platforms itself. So on Amazon, you can, when you search for, say for example, you search for Bonvita, a Complan shows up. And these are all very, very optimized way of marketing. You will only end up spending money. Somebody clicks your, product. Otherwise, they will not end up spending money. Now, this really can help drive optimization at the times of, COVID, where funds become, or the working capital becomes extremely challenging for a lot of startups. So they should adopt these techniques to kind of, market their products. I think e-commerce gives you that those tools and those opportunities to market in a very optimized way. In fact, it also gives you a lot of data points that you can again use as a feedback mechanism to again further optimize your campaigns. Broadly, there are 4 or 5 things that you do. There's always on marketing, which is again a search marketing that you do with a lot of players. Though there are targeted campaigns that then you say that I want to run a specific banner ad for my products. This can slightly be more costlier as compared to a performance marketing. There are obviously this, now we are in the midst of the Diwali sale, the Big Billion Days and the Great Indian Shopping Festival. Extremely opportune time for brands or the startups to invest. There's a huge traffic that comes, and the ROIs are simply phenomenal. So I mean, this again, activations and marketing play a key role. I'll just summarize my discussion in terms of so for any startup, obviously there were trends of e-commerce doing extremely good before COVID as well. COVID has been a big moment in the industry to an extent that it's something similar that what happened in China in the 2008 SARS. So post that, suddenly Alibaba took a huge swing, and the sales of e-commerce in China has skyrocketed. we are still 7 years back in terms of the business, what China does in the marketing in e-commerce. If I, compare India at this point in time, but COVID has been that moment for us. I think this will really give the industry a huge fillip. What that means is that a lot of brands and startups can really take advantage of this, opportunity. Just get the basics right of, how do you want to approach this. It's a complex world. It's a confusing world. I mean, there are multiple options that are available. So have a very, very clear understanding about your product, about your consumer, and then how do you want to kind of, use e-commerce to drive your business. I think that's from my side.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Prateek. This was wonderful. In addition to what Sanjay said, so the behavioral change, the pattern has changed in a super fast way. What would have been taking otherwise 5, 10, 8 years has now happened in probably 5 to 8 months, 10 months time. And yes, this is backed by the growing online population. The data prices have reduced. The digital revolution is taking shape. And therefore, it is all the way more important for all the startups and all the businesses to get their strategies right, be it the 4 Ps or be it the way they should go to the market actually. And as Prateek rightly explained, the 4 points of getting the GTM right, whether to go stand alone or be a part of the biggies like Amazon and Big Baskets and Grofers and all. They should also have optimal assortment because no single product can have the kind of the market presence you would like to have. And therefore, to drive convergence, you have to have enough of offerings and also the continuous activations and marketing and remaining present all the time with the 360-degree campaigns probably. Therefore, it is very important. And also on the product side or on the website, they need to make necessary changes like product title, multiple images, the crisp and this thing, and also A+ content. These are very valuable insights because many a times what happens is when the technocrats are the startup owners, they tend to ignore the points which are important from customer attraction, consumer attraction, or the marketing key points. Having a good product is one thing, but packaging it well and presenting it well are equally important actually. And that was the whole idea of today's the webinar also. So we should have always on marketing attitude in this time because the shift has happened to digital spaces rapidly. So we have some questions also, and one of the most pertinently asked question is our startups are usually having the most of the time they are having very less or meager resources, paucity of money, and yet they have to create a market presence. So I would like to have each one of you answer this question with minimum amount, with minimum, I would say that some of them with zero budget, how can they increase their market presence or how can they be seen or be visible actually? So Professor Allen, we would like to start with you. With no budget or with minimum budget, startups would like to have penetrate newer markets or make their presence felt. So what is your advice to them, sir?
Yeah, I can only refer back to the last 4.5 decades of my career in marketing and advertising. And I can say that for an entrepreneur, budget is never a constraint. Because, you take a look at some of the most successful brands from Gujarat. You take a look at Nirma, for example. Karsanbhai didn't have a huge budget to start with. Okay, it was a long journey. He started small, but built Nirma into a phenomenal brand. Same was the case with Rasna. Same was the case with the Paras brands. I have actually in the process of completing my next book on brand magic, which is the art and science of creating brands. And I've taken 15 case studies from Gujarat. And all these 15 case studies, if you were to study, and I've also covered the entrepreneurs there, whether it is a Karsanbhai Patel, whether it is a Dr. Varghese Kurian, or whether it is Mr. Khambata from Rasna, or whether it is Darshan Bhai from Paras, or whoever I've had the good opportunity to work with, I've seen that all these entrepreneurs, they didn't have huge monies to start with. They had a dream. They were very clear about what they wanted to do. They were very strategic. They used their money wisely. And you know, money begets money. So as you start building your capital base slowly and steadily, you get more and more money to invest. So you have to start somewhere, and you have to have the courage of the long haul. Now that is the era of, you know, maybe 30, 40 years ago. Today's era may be slightly different. But I think the basic principle in my view holds true. And that is, money for a good entrepreneur is never a constraint. You have to first figure out your big dream, figure out and how you're going to slog your way through and build your business. Today, it's easier to do that on the digital sphere. Of course, as has been mentioned by Pratik, it takes money but I'm sure there are ways and means by which you can generate resources. And unlike the earlier world where, you know, you didn't have venture capitalists, you didn't have people willing to invest. Today, there's a lot of money lying around with people who don't know what to do with it. So if you go after the right people and you are able to drive a good partnership, money can be obtained. So I don't see that as a constraint at all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sanjay bhai, your take?
I think if the product is correct and there is a need in the market, we can define the, you know, ways and means for a different kind of an opening. Just with a correct example, the way OnePlus mobile has been launched earlier, you know, they did not have budgets like Samsung, Nokia, and the Apples of the world. So they launched it only on online and by invitation only. So that was one of the marketing ways to, you know, address the short of fund issue. So I think if the product is there and it is performing more than a marketing idea, then the marketing idea can be worked around, is what I feel. Money is, like Professor Alan said, in today's world, if the product is there, money is not an issue.
And you rightly said, many of the brands have been built by word to mouth, actually, by having the product right, actually. Yes. So Pratik, how would you see this challenge of startups?
I think, both Alan sir and Sanjay actually clearly mentioned it. But from a very e-com specific point of view, what I would suggest, is that so the e-commerce platforms, the marketplaces, they are spending huge monies to get traffic onto their platform. They are doing that for you. The consumers are coming. Big Billion Day, Great Indian Shopping Festival are just ways of getting those traffic. Now, if you have your product right and you have identified a consumer need space, you can start with very small budgets, and then the way the marketplaces and the platforms have been designed, the algorithms are in place. They start promoting your products on their own. There's a concept of called as a paid media and the concept of earned media. If you are able to kind of do a very fine balance, you can start getting a lot of earned media because of the way the platforms react. A small example would be, say, for example, you have launched a product and you spend some amount of money to kind of drive a sales of 10 to 15 units. The engine picks up. Even if a consumer who has been able and gone on your product, seen your product, but not bought it, Amazon will go after that product go after that customer on multiple touch points. So say tomorrow you go and read a news article on Times of India. Amazon will spend his money to kind of showcase your product to that consumer because the consumer showcase interest. This is an earned media for you. Obviously, money begets money. So there has to be some small amount of this, but the entrepreneurs can very wisely use those whatever budgets. Have the pricing strategy in which in the product pricing itself they can have some margins built in so that they can do that. I think all those can be done very efficiently in today's time.
That's right. So some of the questions are we have already answered in the presentations probably, but they still ask you what are the going to be a duration in your as a marketeer. Do you see the length and breadth of this post-COVID effect? Because some of them are suffering into the extent that if they do not get breather, they will probably die or get aborted in the time too soon. So they feel they have probably enough resources now only to last couple of months or maximum 3 months actually. So do you have any tips to make them to survive, especially for the food entrepreneurs or the restaurateurs and also the food ingredients people? So Sanjay, would you like to take up this?
How long it will take, I think nobody knows that. Even WHO has given it up every week. Once they do the conference, the answers are different. But having said that, I mean, all of us have a lot of stories around us that people have started something during the lockdown and the venture is successful. Similarly, those visible successes are only 1/10 of it. If there is one successful story out there, there is 99 others who have the idea which did not click around it. So to my mind, I'm still optimistic that it will last for at least next 4 to 6 months for sure. And we are not going to be in the normal situation before that for sure. I mean, though the vaccine, comes by November, December end, then that will be all of worship for all of us. But at least 2 quarters is what I see a minimum thing for a business to come back to a normalcy level.
So Pratik, you have seen you have given of course some examples, but there is a question, can you share some example of any changed branding and marketing strategy that you have noticed in the recent time?
Can you, Shailesh, can you just repeat that question, please?
Yes. So any example which you can recollect where the product or the strategy has been changed in the recent times, which you have noticed remarkably?
So I think Sanjay did try kind of cover in his presentation where a lot of brands have started talking about immunity and
Right.
natural, because there's a consumer demand that is already there for such kind of products. What brands are doing is going back to their drawing board and understanding that how can they link this demand or the need that is there with the current product that they are offering, probably to an extent even going and changing the formulations slightly so that they become more relevant for the current times. I think that a lot of brands have done, talking about immunity being natural. So I think that's what comes to my mind.
So there are more questions about in how much time do you see business picking up, and not select businesses but the economy and all. But I think these are questions which have probably no answer at all. So we will like to conclude this, and we have one question for e-commerce related, where the gentleman is asking what if somebody gets blacklisted on platforms like Amazon or Flipkart? How does one repair it actually?
So ideally, I mean, there are seller support panels and backend teams for each of the platform.
Yeah.
The best way is to kind of go through them to kind of raise your concerns and post your issue over there. In my experience, Amazon and Flipkart have a very, very robust process to handle such kind of escalations or challenges. There might be a wrong consumer complaint that would have come regarding a product or a brand, and Flipkart and Amazon of the world, they take it very seriously. So I mean, and they also have this mechanism wherein they have these seller support panels. So the best way is to kind of go and drop a mail to their team, post your query over there, and give the proper explanation. I think I'm sure they will get the account reactivated.
Yes. So Professor Allen, one aspect which has remained evergreen is listening to the customer or consumer. The customer feedback was always important, but in this era of digital, it has become much more important because it is instant and it is poisonous in many cases. And all the large consumer companies have been witnessing it much more venomous, or I should say torturous way actually. So you have any tips for these startups, how they should be gearing up to listening to their customer feedbacks and improvise?
Well, customer feedback has always been important in marketing, and most of the successful businesses have been built on the feedback that customers have given and the modifications that companies and brands have made in their journey. You're right in saying that in today's world, with everything going viral so fast and so quickly, customer feedback has to be taken extremely seriously, and one has to really react very fast. Now, my only advice is that be very sensitive to customer feedback. And in this respect, of course, our digital experts will be more in tune with this kind of work, because you need to have a very robust backend to respond to these queries. Very often, many people believe that you put a website or you have a presence on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and you're not monitoring it on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, and you're not looking at the feedback, you're not responding to the feedback, you're not taking corrective measures wherever they need to be taken, then I think one has a problem. So one has to be very careful, and one has to be very sensitive. So you have to really think through the entire strategy, right from the front to the back end, to make sure that your entire systems and processes are in place and geared up. So if you don't have the resources to do that, then I would rather suggest that you take your time in building those resources rather than jump into something and then realize later on that you're not well equipped to handle the entire operation.
Just we'll end with this question. So you see, there are customer care which are customer complaints which are genuine, the feedbacks which actually help improve the products also. And there are also there are professional customer who are customer complaint masters actually, and they have very limited myopic view of complaints or the expectation of freebies. So you being into the large corporate, how do you address this?
So consumer listening and the redressal of the consumer complaint is a key part of any large consumer brand.
Yes.
And those, the typical stereotype complaint box individuals will be there, be it is on e-com or a non-e-com, they will remain there. One has to deal with those people. I mean, you cannot, by sitting on a phone or with a telecom operator, you cannot give them a liberty that, he is becoming a problematic situation. You do not give them a replacement. I mean, that is, the part and parcel of the larger brand, that you'll have to take each complaint seriously and have to resolve it. So there are few part and parcel additional, those who are sitting on a Twitter and a Facebook for the regular complaints only. And once you visit their pages, they must have made 50 complaints in last 1 week. So those are the people also who will come to you. So that is part and parcel of today's, digitalization kind of a thing.
But the good side of it is that customer can reach directly now.
Very true.
So that's the beauty of it, and they can also give their valuable suggestions as well as the complaints which are genuine in nature. Yes, as you rightly said, there will be about 1% or 2% people who may be doing it for the fun or mischief actually. But barring that, we should take the one positive side of it. And digital offers this opportunity to listen and give yes and eyes to the customers much more than probably ever we had actually. Thank you, each one of you. It has been wonderful, and I think Saurabh Bhai would like to close it by his thanking remarks.
Shailesh Bhai, I think it's wonderful learning from Alan and Prateek and Sanjay. I think everybody has a different perspective, and today's world is completely different. Just imagine who could have thought Baba Ka Dhaba social influencers putting on Baba Ka Dhaba, and they cannot now meet the demand. Now that has spawned a complete industry across the country. Kerala, somebody's put it up. Now these people are putting up, a QR code or something, and you just go there and you get an Instagram like. So in this world of Insta likes and Insta dislikes, it's a very difficult situation. Like you said, what can a startup do? I think startups can. This is also one way of doing it. And what Sanjay said, brands reinventing themselves, going for the wellness. I know about few pharma brands who have gone completely into wellness. They give you Sinner Shield, this shield, that shield, all sorts of, they have reinvented the medicines because everybody thinks pharma is making hay, but actually a lot of pharma companies are not actually doing good business. And because of for the simple reason that, I'm not eating out that much, I'm not doing that much. So the wellness brands are actually having a problem. Like I can get a haircut from Urban Company at home at 200 rupees. Now if Urban Club gives me a haircut and wellness and the Sinner Shield, so the pharma companies are inventing to get into the wellness business because that's one place where at least people are, using this thing. So this is a completely morphing world, and like Sanjay said, and I agree with Pratik and Sanjay, it's not going to go away. And a lot of habits are going to remain with us. So thank you guys for some wonderful insights and, actually coming it from the word of the horse's mouth kind of thing, because you guys are facing it day in and day out, this kind of situations. And Alan for giving us a complete overview of the last 40 years of how things worked out for different brands. So I think all of you have given phenomenal insights, and thank you very much for taking the time out on a Saturday afternoon and making this program a complete success. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Shailesh.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much, everybody, and each of you who have spent time with us and shared insight and knowledge with us. And we will seek your valuable insight in future also sometime. And we wish that we will be able to do what we call as phygital events or the new era events very soon, actually. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On
behalf of ICC,
all the best. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.